The giant screen on the bridge of the Zarthian flagship showed a small blue planet. Admiral Vexter stared at it with his 4 eyes, all narrowed in contempt. Another world to add to the Zarthian Confederacy. Another species to serve them. Pathetic, he said, his gray skin wrinkling around his mouth. Look at their primitive vessels. They haven't even colonized their own moon properly. The Zarthian Confederacy ruled over 200 worlds across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. For 6,000 years, they had expanded without serious challenge. Their ships were the fastest. Their weapons were the strongest. Their will was unbreakable. Science Officer Krell moved closer to the screen. Unlike the other officers with their military posture and combat scars, Krell was thin and moved carefully. Her skin was lighter gray, almost white from spending her life in labs. Instead of conquest. Admiral, I would suggest caution with these humans, she said. The bridge crew laughed. Commander Drell, second in command and twice as big as Krell, laughed the loudest. Caution? For dirt dwellers who still use fossil fuels. Who fight among themselves over invisible borders? Drell pointed to the screen. Their most advanced ships can barely reach their 4th planet. Our smallest scout vessel could destroy their entire orbital defense network. Krell didn't back down. I've studied their broadcasts for 3 cycles, Admiral. These humans are unusual, Vexter sighed. He respected Krell's intelligence, but sometimes scientists saw problems where none existed. Explain, he ordered. Krell touched her wrist device, and the screen changed to show human entertainment programs. Scenes of space battles, alien invasions, and future wars flashed by. They imagine threats, Admiral. They prepare for wars that haven't happened, and enemies they haven't met. Look at these broadcasts, thousands of different stories about alien contact, and most end with humans fighting or winning. Commander Drell snorted. Fiction. Entertainment for simple minds. Yes, Krell nodded, but it shows how they think. They're always ready for the worst. And there's more. The screen changed again to show human history. Wars, weapons, and destruction. In just 300 years, they went from simple projectile weapons to splitting atoms. Their rate of technological advancement during conflicts increases by 400%. When threatened, they innovate at incredible speeds. Vexter waved his hand dismissively. Every species fights. Every species invents. We've conquered. Them all. Not like these humans, Krell insisted. Most of our subject species developed space travel before creating their most destructive weapons. Humans built world-ending bombs before they reached their moon. They're backward, but dangerously creative. At the back of the bridge, Junior Communications Officer Zex looked up from his station. He was young for his position, barely 50. Cycles old. Science Officer, I've been monitoring a human outpost near their 6th planet. There's a human there who seems to be studying us as well. Vexter turned, suddenly interested. What? How could they detect our probes? Zex looked. Nervous. They shouldn't be able to, Admiral. Our stealth technology is perfect. But this human, designated Sam Miller, has filed reports mentioning anomalous readings and potential non-human technology signatures. Show me these reports, Vexter demanded. The screen changed to show human military documents. Most were heavily censored, but one paragraph was clear. Unusual energy patterns detected near Jupiter's orbit suggest possible observation by non-Earth technology. If intelligent life exists beyond our system, we must assume they've been watching us. Recommend increased funding for Project Guardian. These visitors may not be friendly. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then Commander Drell laughed again, breaking the tension. One human with wild theories. Their own leaders don't believe him. Look how they've hidden his reports from their public. Vexter nodded slowly. Bring up the human military capability again. The screen showed Earth's orbital defenses, primitive satellites, a few small space stations, and defensive missiles that could barely leave their atmosphere. Their weapons are chemical explosives and simple atomic devices, said the tactical officer. Their most advanced ships use ion propulsion, no energy shields, no faster-than-light capability, no gravity manipulation. Vexter walked around the command table, thinking, and he smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Prepare the invasion fleet. We'll take their system with minimal forces. Standard procedure first, their orbital defenses, then military bases, then government centers. They'll surrender within days. Admiral, Krell tried once more. I strongly suggest we. Enough! Vexter's voice boomed across the bridge. Your concerns are noted, science officer. But I've led 67 successful conquests. This will be 68. Krell bowed her head in submission, but didn't look convinced. On Earth, at monitoring station Epsilon 9 orbiting Jupiter, Lieutenant Sam Miller stared at his sensor readings again. For months, he'd been tracking strange energy spikes that appeared and disappeared too quickly to be natural. His superiors thought he was imagining things or trying to get more funding for his remote outpost. But Sam knew what he saw. Something was watching Earth, something that didn't want to be seen. He sent another report to Earth Defense Command. Detected increased activity in Sector 12. Energy signatures match previous anomalies, but stronger and more frequent. These are not natural phenomena. We are being observed by technology far beyond our current understanding. I believe contact is imminent and may be hostile. Earth must prepare. As Sam sent his warning, on the other side of Jupiter, the Zarthian scout ship Vecna uncloaked briefly to adjust its sensors. Its commander, Junior Officer Zex, had been assigned to make final observations before the invasion fleet arrived. The human outpost is still active, Zex told his small crew. That same human continues to file reports about us. Should we eliminate him? Asked his weapons officer. Zex considered it. No, one human's warnings won't matter. From all our intelligence, their leaders don't believe in alien life. They'll be completely surprised when our fleet arrives. In his small quarters on the Zarthian flagship, Science Officer Krell reviewed her data once more. Everything told her that humans were dangerous, not because of their current technology, but because of how they thought, how they prepared, how they fought. She sent one final report to the Zarthian High Command. Humans display unusual characteristics. That may make standard conquest protocols ineffective. They prepare for threats that don't exist. They unite against common enemies. They advance rapidly when challenged. Recommend caution and extended observation before engagement. She knew Admiral Vexter wouldn't change his plans. He had never failed before. But as she looked at the blue planet on her screen, Krell couldn't shake the feeling that this time might be different. The invasion fleet prepared to depart for Earth. 50 ships, 20,000 warriors. Enough firepower to turn continents to ash. The humans didn't know they were coming, or so the Zarthians thought. The first Zarthian scout ship entered the human solar system with perfect confidence. Junior Officer Zex commanded the small vessel as it slipped past the outer planets, its advanced cloaking technology making it invisible to human sensors. Or, so they thought. Maintain stealth protocols, Zex ordered his crew of 8. We will observe their defenses up close before the main fleet arrives. The ship moved silently through the dark space beyond Neptune. Its mission was simple: gather final intelligence on Earth's military capabilities and identify key targets for the invasion force. Admiral Vexter had given them 2 Earth weeks to complete their mission. Sir, I'm detecting a human vessel, said the sensor operator, approaching from the direction of their 5th planet. Zex looked at the screen with mild curiosity. "Show me." The screen displayed a small human ship. It was nothing impressive, a basic patrol vessel with primitive thrusters and minimal weapons. USS Defiant, the communications officer read from the human markings. "It appears to be a routine patrol. Their course will take them nowhere near us." Zex nodded, uninterested. "Continue monitoring. They pose no threat." Aboard the USS Defiant, Captain Lisa Howard was finishing her coffee when her sensor officer spoke up. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings near Neptune's orbit. Something's there that shouldn't be." Lieutenant Frank Miller had been with Howard for 3 years. He wasn't the type to see ghosts in the void. "Defined strange, Lieutenant," Howard said, moving to his station. "It's like a shadow, ma'am. Our sensors sweep right through that area, but there's a split-second delay in the return signal. I've never seen anything like it." Howard studied the readings. After 20 years in the Space Force, she knew when something felt wrong. This felt very wrong. "Battle stations," she said calmly. "Passive scans only. Let's pretend we don't see our visitor." The crew moved quickly but quietly. No alarm sounded. No lights flashed. They had practiced this many times. Protocol whisper, the response to possible alien contact. "Adjust course," Howard ordered. "I want to pass within 1,000 kilometers of that anomaly. Make it look routine." On the Zarthian scout ship, Zex noticed the change in the human vessel's course. "The patrol ship has altered direction. They're moving closer to our position." "Impossible," said his second-in-command. "They can't detect us through our cloaking." Field, Zex wasn't so sure. Maintain silence. Let them pass. As the Defiant drew closer, Zex grew increasingly uncomfortable. The human ship's new course would bring it very near their position, too close for coincidence. "Sir," his sensor operator's voice was tense. "They're scanning us. Different frequencies than before. More focused." "They can't see us," Zex insisted, but doubt had crept into his voice. "Our technology is centuries beyond theirs." On the Defiant, Howard watched as her crew worked with quiet efficiency. "Whatever's out there, it's about the size of a small destroyer," Miller reported. "The distortion field is unlike anything in our database. But Project Guardian's prototype sensors are cutting through it." Howard nodded. Project Guardian, the classified program developed after the Roswell incident in 1947. For decades, Earth had been preparing in secret for this moment. "Deploy the probe," she ordered. "Let's say hello." A small object launched from the Defiant. It looked like a standard communications buoy, the kind used to maintain contact in the outer system. Zex observed the human ship launch something. "Analysis?" "Simple. Communications device," his officer replied. "Harmless. They deploy these regularly. Let it pass," Zex decided. "If we alter course, they might detect our drive signature." The buoy drifted closer to the Zarthian ship. When it was 50 meters away, it suddenly came to life. "Energy spike!" shouted the Zarthian sensor operator. The buoy released a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse. It wasn't powerful by Zarthian standards, but it was exactly the right frequency to disrupt their cloaking field. Alarms blared throughout the scout ship as systems failed. Their cloak flickered and died. "Impossible," Zex shouted. How could they know the exact resonance frequency? On the Defiant, the crew watched as a sleek alien vessel suddenly appeared on their screens. "Target acquired," Miller said with professional calm that masked his excitement. "Alien vessel, approximately 80 meters in length. Design matches the Roswell wreckage." Howard nodded. "They're back, or maybe they never left." She opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. Defiant to command. "First contact protocol engaged. We have a confirmed visitor." Aboard the damaged Zarthian ship, Zex fought to restore their systems. Send an emergency signal to the fleet, he ordered. The humans have technology they shouldn't possess. They knew exactly how to disable our cloak. As his communications officer worked frantically, Zex recorded a message. Caution. Humans more advanced than reported. Possible prior contact with a second pulse from the Defiant cut off his transmission and disabled their communications array dot in Zarthian space. Admiral Vexter received only the first part of Zex's warning. He frowned at the incomplete message. One lucky encounter, he told his officers. Perhaps they salvaged technology from a crashed scout ship. It changes nothing. Prepare the invasion fleet. We will simply adjust our approach. On Earth, the Unified Defense Council gathered in their underground chamber beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with military leaders and government officials from every major nation. Colonel John Davis presented the data from the Defiant. Ladies and gentlemen, we've confirmed what we've suspected for 75 years. They're back, and they're hostile. Secretary of Defense Patricia Williams nodded grimly. The ship's design matches our recovered technology exactly. It seems our visitors from 1947 weren't just passing through. They were scouts. Have they detected our true defensive capabilities? Asked the Russian general. No, Davis replied. Our orbital platforms remain disguised as satellites. Our lunar bases are shielded from their sensors. As far as they know, we're still a primitive species barely capable of reaching Mars. Williams turned to the council. Activate Project Prometheus. All personnel to deep stations. We've been preparing for this possibility since Roswell. Now it's time to show these aliens exactly what humanity is capable of when threatened. Across Earth, hidden facilities hung to life. In underground bunkers, secret space stations, and bases hidden in plain sight, weapons and ships that officially didn't exist prepared for war. Lisa Howard and the crew of the Defiant continued to monitor the disabled alien vessel. Inside, Zex and his crew worked desperately to restore power. Why aren't they attacking? Zex's second-in-command asked. They've disabled us. Why not finish us? Zex stared at the human ship through the viewport. A terrible thought occurred to him. The humans wanted them alive. They wanted information. They've faced our kind before. He realized with growing horror. They were ready for us. He remembered Science Officer Krell's warnings about humans, how they imagined threats, how they prepared for enemies they hadn't met, except they had met Zarthians before. And they had spent decades preparing for their return dot as Earth mobilized its secret defenses and the Zarthian invasion fleet approached. Neither side fully understood what was coming. The Zarthians couldn't comprehend how humans could have advanced so quickly and secretly. The humans didn't yet grasp the full might of the Zarthian Confederacy. But one thing was becoming clear. This would not be the easy conquest Admiral Vexter had promised his leaders. 3 months after the encounter with the scout ship, the Zarthian main fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. 50 warships strong, each capable of destroying an entire continent, they moved with precision toward the blue planet. Admiral Vexter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror. His gray skin seemed darker than usual. His 4 eyes focused on the main screen showing Earth. Final status report, he demanded. Commander Drell stepped forward. All ships report. Ready, Admiral. We've improved our cloaking technology based on the scout ship incident. The humans won't detect us until we want them to. Vexter nodded. Good. Position the fleet in high Earth orbit. When all ships are in place, we'll reveal ourselves and deliver our terms. The massive Zarthian ships glided silently. The solar system. They passed Neptune, then Uranus, then Saturn. They noted the human outposts on Mars, but ignored them as insignificant. These primitive structures posed no threat to their advanced warships. Science Officer Krell studied her sensors with growing concern. "Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from Earth's moon." "Explain," Vexter said impatiently. "There appears to be significant activity on the far side of their moon, the side not visible from Earth. Our scans show artificial structures, but they don't match known human construction patterns." Commander Drell laughed. "Their secret moon base? How frightening." Vexter didn't share his amusement. "Continue monitoring. Approach with caution." The fleet formed a perfect attack formation as they passed Mars. On Earth, in the White House Situation Room, President Linda Bailey received the news she had been expecting since the Defiance encounter. "Madam President, deep space sensors confirm 50 alien vessels approaching Earth. They'll reach orbit within the hour." Bailey nodded calmly. "Are we ready, General?" General Eric Young stood beside a large tactical display showing Earth and the approaching fleet. "Operation Hornet's Nest is in position. All defense platforms are armed and ready. Our moon base squadrons are prepared to launch. We just need your authorization." Bailey looked around the room at the faces of her military advisors and cabinet members. Some showed fear, others determination. "These aliens clearly didn't do their homework on humanity," she said. "We don't respond well to threats." She pressed her palm against the biometric scanner. "Authorization code, Prometheus Awakens. Engage. Defense protocol." Across Earth and throughout the solar system, hidden human defenses activated. On the moon, massive hangar doors slid open, revealing ships that officially didn't exist. In Earth orbit, what appeared to be ordinary communications. Satellites quietly transformed, weapon systems coming online. The Zarthian fleet reached Earth orbit without incident. Admiral Vexter smiled, showing his sharp teeth. No resistance. Just as expected, he turned to his communications officer. "Send our message to every device on their planet. Across Earth, on every television, radio, phone, and computer." The alien message played. "People of Earth, your world now belongs to the Zarthian Confederacy. Surrender your resources and accept your place as a subject species, or face extinction. You have one planetary rotation to decide." The message repeated in every human language. In the Situation Room, President Bailey listened without expression. "Their translation is impressive," she noted. "Let's respond in kind." On the Conqueror, Admiral Vexter waited for the panic and chaos that typically followed such announcements on other worlds. Instead, there was silence. "No response," his communications officer reported. "No official transmissions from there." Governments. Commander Drell moved to the Admiral's side. "They're paralyzed with fear. It's common among lesser species when faced with superior power." Vexter wasn't convinced. "Something doesn't feel right. Scan their planet again." Science Officer Krell studied her sensors. "Their military bases show normal activity. No unusual movements. Their orbital satellites remain in standard positions." "Perhaps they don't understand the gravity of their situation," Vexter said. "Prepare the first wave. Target their military installations to demonstrate our power." 20 Zarthian ships broke formation and began their descent toward Earth's atmosphere. As they moved into position, they failed to notice the small satellites that had been quietly repositioning throughout their arrival. On the lunar base, Commander Alex Rivera watched the enemy ships on his tactical display. "They're taking the bait, moving into the target zone." His second-in-command, Major Olivia Green, nodded. "They're so confident in their technology that they didn't even do a detailed scan of our primitive satellites." Rivera smiled. "For a spacefaring race, they're not very observant." He pressed a button on his console. "All units, prepare to spring the trap. On my mark." When the first wave of Zarthian ships entered Earth's upper atmosphere, General Young gave the command. The seemingly harmless satellites suddenly activated, creating an energy field that interfered with the aliens' propulsion systems. On the lead Zarthian ship, alarms blared as the engines faltered. "What's happening?" the captain demanded. "Unknown energy field." His engineer shouted. "It's disrupting our drive systems." Simultaneously, from the far side of the moon, human spacecraft launched. They were sleek, black vessels that moved with impossible speed, nothing like the primitive shuttles the Zarthians had observed before. Captain Amy Rodriguez of the orbital defense platform Zeus watched as her targeting systems locked onto the lead Zarthian vessels. "All weapons systems online," her weapons officer reported. "Target lock confirmed." "Fire," Rodriguez ordered. Beams of intense energy shot from the defense platforms, striking the struggling Zarthian ships. 3 exploded immediately. Others tried to retreat, but found their faster-than-light drives disabled by the energy field. On the Conqueror, Admiral Vexther watched in disbelief as his first wave was decimated. "Impossible," he shouted. "Where did those weapons come from?" "Those aren't human ships." Science Officer Krell's voice was quiet but clear. "They are human ships, Admiral. They just aren't the ones they wanted us to see." Commander Drell stared at the tactical display in shock. "The humans have energy weapons? Faster-than-light capable ships? How?" "The scout ship," Krell said. "The one that crashed on their planet decades ago. They must have reverse-engineered our technology." Vexther's face darkened with rage. "Launch all fighters. Target their defense platforms. We still outnumber them." The Zarthian fleet deployed hundreds of fighter craft, but they faced an unexpected challenge. The human ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything they had encountered before. Worse, they seemed to have specific countermeasures for Zarthian tactical advantages. As his flagship shook from a direct hit, Admiral Vexther finally understood Science Officer Krell's warnings. The humans hadn't just been imagining conflicts, they had been preparing for this exact scenario for generations. "Full retreat," he ordered. "All ships pull back beyond their moon's orbit. We need to regroup." As the Zarthian fleet scrambled to retreat, human ships pursued, picking off stragglers and damaged vessels. What was supposed to be a simple conquest had turned into a desperate fight for survival. On Earth, President Bailey watched the battle unfold on the Situation Room displays. "Phase 1 complete," General Young reported. "Enemy fleet is in disarray. Shall we proceed with Phase 2? Bailey nodded. "Show them what humanity's truly capable of when threatened. Launch the counterattack." With the Zarthian invasion force in disarray, humanity revealed its true technological capabilities. Hidden bases on Mars and beneath Earth's oceans, launched vessels far more advanced than anything the aliens had detected during their surveillance. Admiral Jane Cooper stood on the bridge of the EDF Valiant, Earth's first true interstellar warship. At 56, Cooper had spent the last 20 years of her career preparing for this moment. Her silver hair was cut short, and her blue uniform bore the insignia of Earth Defense Force, an organization that officially didn't exist until today. "All ships form up," she ordered. "We're taking this fight to them." The Valiant was massive, nearly a kilometer long, with sleek lines and weapons that could tear through a Zarthian battlecruiser. Behind it, 30 similar ships emerged from Zienzer, hidden docks around Earth and Mars. Each carried technology reverse-engineered from the crashed Zarthian scout ship and improved upon by human engineers. The remnants of the Zarthian fleet retreated beyond the lunar orbit, desperately trying to regroup. Commander Drell, now in command after Admiral Vexther's flagship was critically damaged, couldn't comprehend what was happening. "How do they have these ships?" he demanded, pounding his fist on the command console. "Where did they come from?" Science Officer Krell, who had been transferred to Drell's ship before the battle, studied the sensor readings with fascination and fear. Commander, these human vessels show energy signatures similar to our own technology, but with significant modifications. They appear to be more efficient than our designs. Impossible. Drell snarled. They were supposed to be primitive. Krell finally spoke the truth she had been trying to convey for months. They knew we were coming. Not just recently. They've known about the possibility of hostile aliens for centuries. It's in their entertainment, their literature, their military planning. While we saw them as primitive because of their planetary squabbles, they were actually preparing for us. As the human fleet approached, Drell ordered a retreat to the edge of the solar system to await reinforcements from the Zarthian homeworld. But the humans had another surprise waiting. Dr. Kevin Mitchell sat in his command center deep beneath the Nevada desert. At 68, the scientist had spent his entire career studying the crashed Zarthian scout ship from 1947. His team had not only reverse-engineered much of the technology, but had made significant improvements. Activate the gravity well projectors, he ordered. Across the solar system, hidden installations powered up on asteroids, moons, and small planetoids. These devices created artificial gravity distortions that prevented the Zarthian ships from entering faster than light travel. They were trapped in the solar system. On the bridge of the Valiant, Admiral Cooper received the confirmation. Gravity net is active, Admiral. The enemy fleet can't escape. Cooper nodded. Begin the assault. Target their command ships first. The human fleet moved with precision that surprised the Zarthian commanders. The EDF ships were faster, more maneuverable, and their weapons more powerful than expected. It was as if they had been designed specifically to counter Zarthian technology, because they had. Captain Steve Harrison led the assault team aboard a specialized boarding craft. His mission was to capture the Zarthian command ship intact. At 35, Harrison was one of the most decorated Special Forces soldiers on Earth, though his missions had always been classified. Team, remember your training, he told the 20 soldiers in his squad. We've practiced for this scenario for years. Non-lethal tactics when possible. We need prisoners for questioning. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Diane Foster, checked her weapon. It was designed to disable the Zarthian nervous system without killing. After all these years of training, against simulations, we finally get to meet the real thing, she said. Their ship attached to the hull of Commander Drell's vessel. Special cutting tools designed for Zarthian hull material quickly created an entry point. Inside the Zarthian command ship, alarms blared as the hull breach was detected. We're being boarded, shouted a security officer. Commander Drell drew his energy weapon. Defend the bridge. No humans must be allowed to access our systems. The Zarthian crew had never faced a boarding action before. In their thousands of years of conquest, no species had ever dared to board a Zarthian warship. They had no protocols for this situation. Harrison's team moved through the alien vessel with practiced efficiency. They had trained in exact replicas of Zarthian ships, built based on a crashed scout vessel. They knew the layout better than some of the Zarthian crew. Science Officer Krell heard the commotion from her lab near the bridge. She knew what was happening. The humans were taking the ship. She quickly downloaded all her research data on humans to a small device and deleted the ship's copies. This information was too valuable to fall into human hands. On the bridge, Commander Drell and his officers prepared for their last stand. The doors slid open, and Harrison's team entered, weapons ready. Surrender your vessel, Harrison said, the words translated by a device on his armor. Drell fired his weapon, but Foster had already anticipated this. Her countermeasure device activated, disrupting the energy discharge. The shot went wild, hitting a console instead. Within seconds, the bridge was secure. Drell and his officers were restrained with specialized bindings designed for Zarthian physiology. Harrison approached. The alien commander. We've been studying your kind since your scout ship crashed on our planet. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, and your tactics. Drell stared at the human with a mixture of rage and fear. You can't defeat the Confederacy. We rule over 200 worlds. This fleet was just the beginning. Harrison nodded. We? No. That's why we needed your ship intact, and you alive. Throughout the solar system, similar scenes played out as human forces captured key Zarthian vessels. Others were destroyed when they refused to surrender. Within hours, the battle was over. The mighty Zarthian invasion fleet had been decimated. In the White House Situation Room, President Bailey received the news of their victory. All enemy ships had been neutralized or captured. General Young reported. Casualties are minimal on our side, Bailey nodded. And the prisoners? Being processed now. Initial interrogations confirm our intelligence. This was just the first wave. The Zarthian Confederacy controls a significant portion of the galaxy. Bailey's expression remained resolute. Then we need to send them a message they won't forget. Prepare the captured Zarthian vessels for our counterstrike. It's time the Confederacy learned that humanity is not to be trifled with. As Earth celebrated its unexpected victory, the captured Zarthian commanders began to understand the full magnitude of their error. They had dismissed humans as primitive, failing to recognize the signs of a species that had been preparing for this exact scenario for generations. They had ignored the warnings about human space, and they had paid the price. News of the devastating defeat reached the Zarthian homeworld 3 weeks later. For the first time in their 1,000-year expansion, the Confederacy had not only failed to conquer a species, but had suffered a humiliating defeat. High Chancellor Morax called an emergency session of the ruling council. The Grand Chamber, with its towering ceilings and ancient battle trophies from hundreds of conquered worlds, had never before hosted such a grim meeting. How could this happen? Morax demanded, his 4 eyes blazing with anger. They were supposed to be primitive apes barely out of their atmospheric cradles. The intelligence director, a thin Zarthian named Valok, could only offer one explanation. They deceived us, deliberately. They maintained a facade of primitive technology while developing advanced capabilities in secret. Our scouts saw what the humans wanted them to see. The military commander slammed his fist on the table. 50 ships. 20,000 warriors. All lost to these humans. Not all lost, Valak corrected. Many were captured. The humans took 17 of our vessels intact. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. The implications were clear. The humans now had access to Zarthian military technology. Star charts and databases. The situation worsened when reports began arriving from outposts throughout the sector. Human ships, some of them captured Zarthian vessels, others of unique human design, had been spotted near Zarthian colonies and space stations. They didn't attack. They simply observed, gathering intelligence, before disappearing again. They're studying us, Valak said, learning our weak points. High Chancellor Morax was about to order a massive counterattack when the chamber's communication system activated without warning. On the main screen appeared a human female in a formal uniform. This is Commander Nicole Freeman of Earth's Diplomatic Corps. We are prepared to discuss terms. The arrogance of it stunned the Zarthian leadership. Humans were dictating terms to them, not the other way around. How dare you, Morax snarled. Your primitive world will burn for this insult. The human showed no fear. Your invasion fleet has been destroyed. Your technology has been analyzed and improved upon. And right now, a human battle group is orbiting your colony on Nexus Prime, ready to reduce it to ash. She paused, letting the information sink in. But unlike the Zarthian Confederacy, we prefer diplomacy to extinction. We are sending a delegation to your homeworld. They will arrive in 6 days. Be prepared to negotiate. The screen went dark. Is this true? Morax asked Valok. Do they have ships at Nexus Prime? Valok checked his datapad, his hands shaking slightly. Confirmed, Chancellor. 5 vessels of unknown design are in orbit around our largest colony. Their power signatures exceed anything in our fleet. 6 days later, a single human vessel approached the Zarthian homeworld. It was smaller than their battle cruisers, but emanated power readings that their sensors could barely comprehend. The Zarthians had assembled a defensive fleet of 100 ships, but the human vessel moved past them as if they were not there. The human delegation that arrived at the Zarthian High Council chamber didn't come bearing weapons. Instead, they brought evidence-detailed files on every world the Zarthians had conquered, every species they had subjugated or exterminated. Ambassador Paul Jackson led the human team. At 62, he had spent his career in diplomacy, though never with alien species until now. We've been studying you longer than you realize, Jackson said, his voice calm but firm. You should have paid attention to the warnings from your own scouts. Humanity doesn't respond well to threats. He activated a device that projected a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with Zarthian territory highlighted in red and Earth in blue. The terms are non-negotiable, Jackson continued. The Zarthian Confederacy will withdraw from these 3 systems. He pointed to recently conquered worlds near Earth's sector. You will establish a demilitarized zone between your territory and human space. Morax's face darkened with rage. You expect us to surrender territory? To you? Jackson didn't flinch. I expect you to recognize reality, Chancellor. We could have destroyed your homeworld. Instead, we chose to talk. He touched the device again, and the map zoomed out to show a massive energy signature approaching. From the galactic core. There's something else you should know. Our long-range sensors detected this 6 months ago. We believe it's the reason your Confederacy has been expanding so aggressively. You're running from something. The Zarthian Council members looked at each other in shock. Their most classified fear had been discovered by these humans. What do you know of this? Morax asked, his voice suddenly less confident. We call it the Void Tide, Jackson said. A massive wave of dark energy that consumes everything in its path. Your scientists have known about it for centuries, according to the data we recovered from your ships. You've been expanding away from it, sacrificing other species to buy yourselves time. He zoomed in on the map again. We're offering an alliance against this common threat. Our scientists have theories on how to counter it, but we'll need resources and cooperation. The Zarthian High Council chamber was silent as the implications sank in. For 1,000 years, they had conquered and destroyed, believing it was the only way to survive. Now these humans, a species they had tried to subjugate, were offering a different path. As the Zarthian Council reluctantly accepted the terms. High Chancellor Morax asked the question that had been haunting him. How did you advance so quickly? Our intelligence said you were centuries away from interstellar capabilities. Ambassador Jackson smiled slightly. We've been expecting visitors, not all of them friendly, since we first looked up at the stars. Every alien invasion story, every sci-fi novel, every space opera film was preparation. We turned our paranoia into readiness. And when your scout ship crashed in 1947, it just confirmed what we already suspected. He handed Morax a data device. This contains our proposals for the alliance against the Void Tide. We'll need to work together if any of us hope to survive what's coming. As the human delegation departed, Science Officer Krell, who had been quietly observing from the side of the chamber, approached Morax. Lieutenant Sam Miller's warning was prophetic, she said softly. What warning? Morax asked. A report filed by one of our scouts before the invasion. It said, these creatures appear harmless until threatened. Their historical records suggest an unprecedented capacity for innovation under pressure. Morax looked at the data device in his hand. We should have listened. 3 months later, a combined fleet of human and Zarthian ships traveled to the edge of Confederacy space to rescue a species that was next in the path of the void tide. The Zarthians had planned to abandon them. The humans insisted on saving them. Admiral Jane Cooper of the EDF Valiant stood side by side with a Zarthian commander on the bridge. "Your species is strange," the Zarthian said. "You prepare for war more thoroughly than any race we've encountered. Yet you choose to save rather than conquer." Cooper smiled. "That's humanity for you. We imagine the worst so we can strive for the best." A new galactic order was emerging, with humanity not as the conquered, but as the protectors. And as the mysterious threat from the galactic core grew closer, even the Zarthians found themselves grateful for humanity's paranoia and preparation. The Zarthians had ignored the warnings about human space, and they had paid the price. But in doing so, they might have found the one ally who could help them face an even greater threat.